Should this have been done in reverse then? Maintain the subsidy for maybe just 1 month and then review the prices, the taxes of the fuel,
Correct.
which are about 9 or 8 of them.
Correct.
In the interim, so that in the interim, the people are cushioned from the rising, skyrocketing cost of fuel.
Two things that I want to say is that while answering that is that you have heard that for the last 4 months we have used 60 billion.
Yes.
And the sad reality is that most of the oil retailers, some of them have been paid. It is only few, like 4 companies that have been paid that were well connected in the previous government. So what I want to say, and the country cannot live on subsidies for long. It is just like telling somebody you can live on loan, where you always have to borrow. At some point in life, you must at least outgrow the borrowing of loan and be able to be financially stable. So from where I sit, since it was coming to an end, and you know, Jared is not admitting to the nation that the reason they introduced UNGA subsidy, the reason there was fuel subsidy, was they are part of the goodies to try and get Azimio government elected. And therefore, when it became apparent that the subsidy coincidentally was coming to an end, when just barely 2 days, and you know, they should tell the nation they wasted a lot of time. If they had allowed the President William Ruto to settle in after 14th of when the election, the results were declared in August, without going to Supreme Court, wasting almost a number of days, it would have allowed the government to settle down immediately and address. But I want to confirm to you, and he knows. Anyway, I understand for Jared, they have never been in government. And that is why they are doing what they are doing best, and that is providing checks and balances. And by the way, President William Ruto has agreed that for a functional democracy, checks and balances and oversight of government must be in place. So from where I sit is that the issue of fuel subsidy, the issue of UNGA subsidy, the issue of cost of living, I said from my opening remarks, is multifaceted issue. You cannot just say, let us address fuel issues, let us address UNGA issues. If we must approach it from multifaceted angle, where you provide food security by ensuring that they subsidize seeds and fertilizer, by ensuring that the economy becomes stable, and therefore reviewing those taxes, as you have said. I think the long-term strategy, and I agree with you on that aspect, is how do we review these taxes that have been levied on the fuel, so that if we can see, we can measure some of the taxes or remove some of them, so that it can allow the cost of, because it doesn't make sense. You walk to a petrol station, you pay those taxes, they come through that road maintenance levy fund, we bring it together, and then use it now for subsidy. Then the long term, and I agree with you that the government and when Parliament has been set in place, when the ministry is in place, I think the best issue is to put in place where we can review some of the taxation so that we make the cost of living. So I agree, I want to confirm to Jared and the rest of the Kenyans that the cost of living should and must come down in the next few days, because, you know, we will review this after 100 days of President William Ruto in office. Finally, on the issue of fuel hoarding and artificial shortage, this has been the strategy by most of the oil marketers. And I want to tell Jared and other Kenyans, these people know what they are doing. They just want to create crisis at petrol station. You know now, you know, and this is now where what do we call these people who sell by the roadside now, because you remember when there was crisis, especially when we were doing nominations, there were some people who were selling outside, even outside the fuel petrol station. So that is why I'm appealing to government, and I can confirm this, that the government will listen to this and ensure that if there is any oil marketer or retailer who is hoarding fuel or creating artificial shortage, because by the way, if Kenya Pipeline Corporation, the KPC, has not told us in their terminals there is no fuel, we can agree there is no fuel. But since that fuel is there, and it's with the oil marketers, and their share and ratio has been given to them, they don't have any reason as to why they want to create artificial shortage. And that is, by the way, when we end this subsidy and create a stable economy, an economic transformation, I can assure you, you will never hear about fuel loading, artificial shortage from the fuel pump. And I think these are some of the things must be brought to, unless the opposition, the minority side led by the people like Jared, want to ensure that for every time when we introduce a subsidy, it comes to an end. And by the way, the Speaker Kagushi has explained very well that it is not that when you give subsidy, the oil marketers or the retailers that sell you fuel will now not be, they will give you at that price. The government must come back and compensate them for the difference that they have sold you that fuel. So I want to say that this is a big challenge across the world, by the way, and it has affected many countries. I can see US, it's coming down. Europe also is stabilizing. And you know, there are many factors. These are international issues. If, for example, we were drilling oil, for example, in Kenya, then we would rightly complain as to why this cost of fuel must come down. So we must also, and by the way, what is important, and Kenya should know this, and I know Jared is well versed with this because sometimes he deals with dollars, that the exchange rate, you know, he used to work for an international NGO where he used to be paid in dollars. And he knows the dollar has continued to gain against the shilling. It will always affect the sell per barrel that is being sold to the oil, per barrel to the oil in the country. So all in all, I think let us also give time government. Let us, this is a multifaceted approach. Even if you give fuel subsidy and you have not given provided the fertilizer and many others, and you know, Jared should be honest with the country. Where I come from and where he comes from, it is raining.
Okay.
So we should be now, I want to advise that he should look for his governor, Governor Anyang' Nyong'o, liaise with the national government, get them subsidized seeds and fertilizer. Okay. Within 3 months, within the next 6 months, we have food production going up, the cost of food will come down, and therefore eventually the cost of living will come down. That's the long-term solution. And he can use an example of Malawi, where Malawi invested then with the late president by providing necessary subsidy in terms of inputs and ensuring that there is food security, and in terms of cost of living will automatically come down.